So today we're going to go over these ones over here, the standard primitives, and then we're going to talk about also the geometric ones and architectural objects. We'll be playing with those ones throughout this course, throughout this subject today. So we're going to start off by just making the method of a box. So does everybody know how to do the box? How do we do it? We literally just go press the box option. By doing the box option, you notice that you click and there's more things that pop up. We have keyboard entry, we have the name and color, we have the length, the width, the height. We have the perimeters over here, again with the length, the width, the height. The length segments we went over, how many times you're going to break up that segment into it. So if it's a box, you do 10, it's going to divide into 10 equal along the length. If I do 10 along the width, it's going to break it up 10 along the width, and also the height as well. What's the difference between keyboard entry and the perimeter one? Is when you do the keyboard entry, it's going based off the X, Y, Z. If you don't use the keyboard entry and you use the perimeter one right over here, what's it going to do? It's going to make a box anywhere you decide to click on it. All right? So that's why you can preset the box at the with the length you want. So again, the length, width, and height of the object controls the length, width, height of that box or piece you're trying to build. The length segs, width segs, which are these ones over here, and the height segs, those control the number of segments, divisions along each axis of that object. Again, like I said, if we have a box that's 5, let me just show you what I'm talking about. Let's just do a quick box here. That is 20 by 20 by 20, and we're going to put this at 5, oh, not 25, 5, 5, 5. Great. And now if you notice, you see it? My division is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we all see that? That's what it means by length segments. When I typed in the length with height, which is over here, it automatically modified it. If I go check to the modify tab quickly and I change that to say, let's do 25. See, it changed it by 10 by 5. So it gave me this look over here. Now let me go change the length one to 1. See how now the length went to 1 solid. If I go back to length and I put 5, it's going to divide it equally along 5 paths. If I go put 10, it's 10. If I go to the width and I say 2, it's going to divide this into 2 segments. Same thing goes for the height. Right now the height is set to 5. If I press 1, what's it going to do? It's going to make it just one solid face. If I go put 1, 1, 1, everything is divided to just one face. So if I click on that one face, it's going to grab the whole object. If I had divided the segments, I could have tweaked it. So later on, if we make a sofa or something, what you do is you have the more segments you have, the more control you have over an object. Because you can move around, you can make it bumpier, make it groove, curve, whatever you need to do. Then the other option we had when we were making the box is you have the generate mapping coordinate and real map size. So the generate mapping coordinates is selected by default. It generates coordinates when you want to apply material to this box. Okay? And then the real map size, well, it's like it says, it controls that lets you create material and specify the actual width and height of that material. So, but you could scale the volume, you can make it scale to go bigger, to make it smaller, so it looks more realistic. Sorry. So whatever you specify on the last one, when you make a box again, so remember, if you just look carefully, I made my box, that was 25, 10, 5. If I go make a new box, I keep this my original number I did last time. Remember when I started, I did 20, 20, 20. So look, if I go here, put 30, 5, 2, so you know it's a random number. And I'll change the coordinate to, let's say 100, so we see it. Create. Now you're going to notice there's my box over here, correct? If I go make a new box, it's going to keep the same keyboard entries that I did on the last one. So it kind of keeps it so throughout the whole thing, so you remember what the last one you did was. Good. Now, yesterday when I showed you guys the preview of the bend, you noticed that it wasn't working properly. So let me show you now. And you're going to see what the difference is. Oop. So let's go make the box again. Let's go make it from the center of the keyboard. Let's put 0, 0. Let's go make the length 20, the width 20, and the height we're going to make it 100. So we have this lovely box, correct? Remember yesterday when we tried to bend it, what happened? If I go here and I do bend, and I put, say, 45, what happened? It's still a straight rectangle. What do you think the reason is going to be behind that? What's missing? These segments. Remember I told you the more segments you have, the more you're able to play with the object. So if I go back over here, and I close this for now, click on the box, and I put the segment height to 100, for example, it's going to divide this into 100 units, right? So now if I go put the bend back on, what do you notice? That the piece actually is bending with it. Do we understand that now? Before, when we had no segments, it just looked like it just curved it, but because I only have 2 lines here and here, it can't do much. So if I go put it to, say, 5, I start getting it, but it's a little bit choppy. If I go to 50, it starts looking better. If I do 100, I get more of a better curve. So again, if I want to modify how many segments I have to go in my modifier list and click on the box. From there, if I put 50, I'll see the segments of 50. Go back to the bend. If I put it at 75, if I put it at 90, if I put it at 110, look at my thing go happier. If I want to make it a sling, I do 180. Look at that. And I made this little sling. Let's go put more segments. I think 50 is enough. You could also take the same one you had before, and again, watch modifier. Let's add a twist. Twist. Did I click on it? No, I did not. Twist. And now let's add it at 45. But this time, see, I don't have enough segments. So I'm going to go back to my box. And I'm going to change my width to, not 200 is too much, 5. Change this one to 5. Or do here, 200. 100 is too much. 25, 25. And it starts adding a twist to your piece. See it? Go back to the twist option. Go put it back here again. 90. There you go. If it's not in that direction, I can change it to the Y. See, Y messes it up completely. The X messes it up completely. The Z, let's do 45 again, and try again. So you can play with it. We'll go over the rest of the bites and everything afterwards. But just to show you that you could twist it like we did yesterday. And again, guys, if you want to go back to how it looked before, all you have to do is you go back, click on it, and you turn off the twist. Turn off the bend. You see it? And it's going to show you back here how it looked before. Is that clear for everybody? If ever you want to delete a twist or a bend, whatever you modify, you want to go back to the original, I click back on the modify. I go back to the twist, right click, delete, right click, delete, and it brings it back to normal. Good. No, that looks bad. What is Rob doing? That's bad. What does tech look like? That looks pretty... That looks even... Actually, you can at least see it at least more. Good. Let me put it back to how you had it. Good. Nice. So now let's continue back on what we were trying to say before. So again, we talked about the perimeters that automatically pop up. And we also talk about the keyboard entry. Like I said before, the keyboard is similar to parametric, and it also lets you do the X, Y, and Z, or Z, depending on what you want to use. Is that okay for the box option? Now we're going to go back to making a cone. So we played with the box at 1. Oh, just before I forget, if I want to do a cube, I could just do cube, and right away by doing cube, what happens? It automatically blocks out the width and height, and it makes that if I put here 5, it's going to make them all 5. Why? Because you have the cube option on. Instead of typing in 5, 5, 5, you're going to type in once 5 and it automatically does it for you. Do we remember how to align it to the top? Let's try. I have box number 2. I select Tools, and I go to Align, Quick Align to this object, so now I know it's in the middle. Then I can go back again, Tools, Align, click the Align again, and I click the box. Right away it gives me this. Now I just have to make it go to the top. I don't need X, I don't need Y. Z is good. Let's do maximum is at the bottom, so min, max. And it's on top, my little cube. Ta-da, my little box is on top. Like we've done yesterday and on the previous videos. So now let's go back and let's make a cone. Let's erase this. The cone option. So you can use this to create a round base. From there you go up, which gives you the thickness of it. And then you go back and you can make your cone the way you want. See, I made a quick cone by just clicking on the object. You're first going to choose the first radius. Then you're going to choose your height, and then you're going to choose your second radius. So again, let's do it again. Cone. I choose the bottom, the height, and I can choose my top radius. If I don't want to do this and I actually want to use real numbers, I could have done this. Erase, cone. Let's go base. We'll put it at. So we'll do 50. The top radius, we'll leave it at 0. And the height, we'll leave it at 20. Segments are okay for now. Let's go press create. I should have did it here. So it should be 50, 0, 20. There you go. My top radius is number 2. My base, my radius 1 is on the bottom. My radius 2 is on the top. And my height is over here. If I go change this now, modify it, and I say, no, this is a little too big, let's do 25, or let's do 5. There you go. I have my beautiful cone. If I take that same modification and I say, you know what, I want to make it have a flat top. So let's go make it 2. Now it becomes like that. Let's make it a cylinder. I just type in 5, and now I have a cylinder. If I go back and say 0.1, there's my point, or 1, and put this one at, say, 25, and my height at 50, there you go. If I type this to 0, it makes it more small again. If I want, I could add segments again like we did before. If I want to do 15, it's going to add 15 segments going up. If I want to add the sides and I say 3 sides, then I'm going to start having different shapes. It's like a pentagon. See, now I have a triangle. If I go back and I put 4, I have a pyramid, 5. Then if I go 10, the more I go, the more round shape it's going to become. So I go put 30. You see, again, if I want to rotate, I do Alt and the scroller of the mouse, the pan button, the little scroll button, and I'm able to rotate the object. So again, when we're doing the cone, we're going to go over. We talk about radius 1 being the base, radius 2 being the top radius, okay? The height being the height of the object. The height segments, again, controls the division along the major axis of the cone. Then you have the height segment, which is very similar along the maximum, again, the max height, again, divides it. Then you have the option here that says cap segments, which sets the number of concentric divisions on the top and bottom of the cone. So right now, if I look at the bottom, I have one piece. If I go put here 3, oops, I have to modify it. Click this one. 3. See, now it divides at the bottom as well. If I go put 1, there's none. If I go put 2, it's going to divide it into 2 segments. 1, 2. 3, 1, 2, 3. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the bottom, and as well, you don't see it, on the top. Do we understand that? With the cap segments. Then we have on here with the smooth option, which is already set by default. What it does, it blends the faces of the cone on the rendering, therefore producing a smooth finish. It's automatically on by default, but if you turn it off, when you do the render, you won't see it as smooth as it is right now. Okay? You see here, look at this corner here. See how it looks right now, smooth is off? They look like little squares, correct? Smooth on. It starts to make it curve nicer. We discussed already the sides. It determines how many sides are on the cone. Then you have the option over here for slice. If I do slice on, and I say slice from 0 to 180, what's going to happen? It's going to slice along the z-axis and cut the piece in half. So if I were to change this to 5, now you notice it's a slice through the object. Do we see that? Do we want everybody try it? By putting the slice on and off. I could have done start from 180 and finish at 0. And it does the opposite side. If I do back 0, 0, see, now it's perfect. If I start from this side and say 180 to 0, it does this side. If I go 0 and I do 180, it does the opposite side. So you control the way you want to slice your object. If I don't want to slice, I could turn it off and it goes back to normal. Okay. Just take a note that if you try to use any negative numbers for the radius 1 and radius 2, it automatically is going to bring you into 0. You cannot have a negative radius for any of the two. Everything good? And also, if you put the same radius for 1 and the same radius for number 2, what do you get? You get a cylinder. So that's not what you want. If it is, then that's fast. But no, if not, then it's not good. Good. And again, the generate map and real map, that's like we spoke about before. So now from the cone, we move on to the sphere. So the sphere is similar to the rest. Again, you have the name option, the creation method, you have the keyboard entry, and then you have the radius. So creating a sphere does a sphere, a hemisphere, and you could slice it, you could create it in different sizes, and so forth. So let's go try it. So now we're just going to click on the circle, and we're just going to click and drag from the center. Click and drag. And you notice my radius is going crazy over here. See, 100 goes down. So I just drew a circle quickly. If I go back to the modify like we've done before, you have the same options like before. If I want to change my radius to 10, it makes my circle 10 radius, which gives me a diameter of, if my radius is 10, what's my diameter? 20. Good job. If I want to divide my segments now, so now right now I divide into 32 segments. If I go to 3, what's going to happen? I get some weird triangle, which is pretty cool actually. Actually, if I do 3, it automatically brings it to 4. If I do 5, the more I have, the more of a circle it becomes. If I go type in 100, it starts becoming a disco ball. It's a lot of segments in it. Let's go put it back to 25. Then again, we spoke about the radius, the segments. The smooth option, we see the difference now. Look, smooth on, off I mean, looks like little rectangles. Smooth on, makes it nice and smooth. Talk about the segments. The hemisphere. The hemisphere lets you create a hemisphere. It cuts off the sphere to a partitional shape. So if I go put here 50, oops, that's too much. 0.5 I meant to say. Not 50, it's either 1 or 0.5. 0.5 cuts it in half. We see that? I cut it in half. If I go put 0.25, I start losing like it gives it a flat top. If I go put it at 1 exactly, it's gone. 2, 0.5, halfway. Do we see that? It starts cutting off from the bottom the way you want to cut it. I also have the option of chop, which gives it a nice smooth finish, or squash, which gives it the effect that you're squashing it. See? This is a slice down the middle. This is a squash showing you that it's being squashed down. If I go put it back to 0, this is the piece, 0.25. You notice that the pieces start looking like they're getting squashed together. If I go put 0.75, you notice it starts looking more and more flattened. Good. Oops, 0. So 0 brings you back to full. 0.1 starts cutting it off. 0.5 is halfway. 0.75 is a quarter. 0.99 gives you that little line. So just keep it at 0 and you're fine if you want a full circle. Good. Then again, we have the same option with the slice. If I have slice on and I put here 180, there goes half my sphere. If I do slice plus squash at 0.5, then I have my piece like this. Any questions so far? Base to pivot, the one over here, it makes it that the pivot point is no more the bottom of the center of that circle. It drops it to the base of it. So when you're moving it around, you're not moving it from the center. You're moving it from the bottom part of your piece. Is that clear? Do we see the base, what it did? It took it from the middle of the object, right? Look at the screen, not me. See how it took it from the base of the object and it dropped it down to the base of the piece. All right, so now that we did that, let's move on to the cylinder. So the cylinder is right over here. So again, the cylinder creates a cylinder that can be sliced along the major axis point. So again, we click and drag. You do the radius and you do the height. Okay? Again, I don't know if you guys have noticed before, but you see you have the center option and you have the edge option. If I do edge, look what happens. I'm drawing from one edge to the next edge. If I do from the center, I'm drawing from the center of the object. Yeah. Good. So we have our one cylinder. Like before, if I go to the properties on that cylinder, I could do the radius again. Let's do it at 15. The height at 30. Segments again, we could divide it equally to 7, 10. I could have did cap segments. I could put 2, so it divides it in 2 up there. I could have the smooth option on or off. The slice option, it starts cutting like a open book. If I go put here 180, it starts cutting it that way. If I put 145, 280, you see? It starts slicing it like so, along the major axis. Then again, you have the option to generate mapping coordinates or real map size. Alright, so that's the quick cylinder. From the cylinder, we could go to the torus. No, we'll do the tube first. The tube. So the tube, we again, the same one. If I click, I have radius 1, radius 2, and the height. If I just go from the center, there's 1, the diameter, and then the height. So I'll make like a little well. All those of you guys who've played Mario before, look, where the video goes like this, and the little tube comes up. And there you go. You have the little tunnel. Similar to before, if I go modify, I could do my radius 1, which is controlling the, if I go put here 5, then I control that's the outer one. The inner one, if I do 10, and then I do the height, 10. And then I can divide my segments like we've done before. Same options we had before, slice on, slice off, smooth finish, no finish. Automatically the smooth finish goes on, and automatically the real map and the generate mapping coordinate goes on by itself. That's for the tube, bless you. Then we're going to go to the torus, right over here, which is very similar to a donut, where you click, the radius 1 is the outer radius, then you do the inner radius, and there you go. You have the same options like you've done before. Oops, this one. Or if I click on it, I could do radius 1. So if I do 50 and I do 25, it gets bigger, the little circle. If I put it back to 10, smaller. Rotation, if I go say 45, you won't notice that much. If I go do 180, it won't change, but if I add a twist, it's twisting it a bit. It looks a little twisted here, you see it. Okay. Just a caution, if you're trying to twist a closed one, it won't work properly. So if I go here do slice, and I say 180, and now let's go back, and let's see if we could twist it. Let's do 25. See how it's starting to make it go outward? If I do 100, it's starting to twist. Look at the lines. They're going from bottom to top. Segments, if I put it to 2, what happens? Because there's not enough segments to bend that piece. You can smooth the sides. I can smooth the segments. I can smooth all. I still have the slice option like before if I want to turn it on or off as well. Is that clear? From the torus, we switch to the pyramid. The pyramid, same thing again. I choose my base, going from one corner to the next. Then I go up and add my peak, my width, my depth, my height. I could have also did pyramid, instead of doing the center, the base point. And it goes from one corner to the next, and then go up. And again, I could change my numbers to 25 by 50 by 20. Or 25 by 25. Like so. Good? And again, you have your width, the depth, and the height as well. Any questions? Now we're going to go back. We've done all these. Now we're going to do the plane. Plane, I choose. Again, I choose my length, my width. So if I go choose my, if I just draw it actually, and I'll modify it. There's my little dance floor. I could divide it, go back to modify, and I could change it. I could do 40 by 40. And I can do my segments. It could be 5, 9. Or 5, 8, sorry, not 9. And as you can see here, it's going to make it be able to break up the pieces into a different platform. If I do 1, 1, I just have a flat piece. And from there, you have the render multiplier, which is going to do the scale. So when you're rendering, it's going to scale whatever piece you put on that material by 1 time, by 2, whatever you want to modify it by. And the density as well. So if I go, we'll go over that when we do the rendering. So if I go do 5, 5 again, see I have a total amount of 50 faces. How is that possible that I have 50 faces, guys? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top, And underneath I have another 25 pieces. So I have 25 faces on the top, 25 faces on the bottom. Good. Again, the controller, what it says, the render multiplier, are groups that are used to set the multipliers at the rendering time. So when we start to render, that's when that comes into effect. You have the scale to specify the scale factor for the length and the width, and then you have the multiplier for the rendering time, when you're trying to render it. The density factor, by which the number of segments in both the length and width are multiplied in the rendering. So the more segments you have, the longer it's going to take to render. The least amount of segments you have, the least amount of time to render, but the less smoother, the less shapes you're going to have. Good. Then we have the Teapot option. Teapot, I click on it. I have the same options before, where I could do the radius and the number of segments. I click, and there's my Teapot. Go to the modifier, and I could do the radius, say 12, and it's going to make it a radius of 12. My segments, I could say 5. And then I can start removing parts, like the body. I can remove the handle, the spout, the lid. Now I have just a little pot. Go put it back, a lid. Put the spout. Now it's weird. Just take out the spout and put another lid. Now I have a little cup. Alright, so you're just there to allow you to see the different radiuses. It's just a group of a teapot. It's just to show you that you're able to comprise the body of the lid, the spout. You could do a whole thing by default. Alright, then after that one there, once you've done the teapot, we have something called the textplus. What is the textplus? Some of you guys were playing around with it already. Is you make a little thing, a box of where the text is going to go, like so. And if I go type it in saying that's the name of the text, go to the modify, I can modify the text over here saying hello. Like so. You can write whatever you want to put it. I could click on that text zone. I could make the length smaller. I can make it 50 by 50. So I'm actually saying where to go. The width is too small, so let's do 100. I can make it go on a different font, bold, underline, italic, underline, whatever you want. You have to select the text and select it, and it's going to change it for you as you're going around. And then this is your global perimeters for the sizes. You can make it different size, different scale. If I want to stretch it, go down, whatever you want to do, you're able to fix it. All right, and then after you have the option to bevel it. We're going to go with talking about this when we start doing the pieces where you're able to modify different objects. But inside here, you see there's a lot of options when it comes to your text. You have, again, the first one, which allows you the different steps you're going to put into it. Then you have the layouts, the perimeters, the geometries, the animations, and so forth. Good. So we're going to have a little, example later on that we're going to work with it. But again, there's different techniques you could do with playing with the text options. Go here again, go back to modify. Let's go make it word. Let's go make it along the x. No, let's leave a y. Let's go put it back to object. Let's go here just to play with it. You guys could try it. Apply a bevel, which gives it a little bit of a thickness. And I say I want a bevel of 10. Oops, that's too much. Way too much. Let's do 0.5. Let's do 1. And it starts adding volume to your text. Okay, you could go play with the different things. Different extrusion. Let's go put extrusion of 10. And now it's coming out right at your face. You see that? It's coming towards you beautifully like that. So yes, you could add the symbols if you know the shortcuts for them, like the plus or minus is Alt 0177. Stuff like that. The degree one, you have to check what it is on the character maps. Again, if you go to your character map on your computer, like so, it's going to load. Like this one over here, and I find something I want, like this one here, registered. It gives you the code, see alt0174. I copy it, go here, Control V, and it takes it with it. Sometimes it may not register it, so it didn't register the actual text. What's the degree symbol? Let's go choose. There we go. Let's go use the. But again, I don't think you really need these symbols, but let's go try anyways. Copy. See, it doesn't really register those. I don't think it likes the text. No, see, it didn't really take it. All right, so that's for the text. Perfect. Okay, the next one I want to show you is we go to the next one, which is giving extended primitives right over here. So we have more pieces we could do in here. If you go look, you have a Hendra. If I go click and drag, you can make it a cube. There's so many different ones you could add on to it. This is when you start dealing with the vertices. You play with them, you get them. If you want the oil tank, now I have an oil tank, like so. The spindle. There's different things you can play with as you're going on. I'm not going to go over every single one of these, but you could play with them as you click the hose. Okay, there's our hose over here. Free hose. Then you could have your capsule. Oh, isn't this? Oh, that's a big capsule. There we go. Okay, understand there's different things you could build that are pre-made within the actual objects. And if you go back to the modify, you have the similar ones as before. You set your radius, your height, slices, and so forth. If I click on the hose, you have different options for the different segments. If I go back over here again, and this time I go to what can I show you here? See, AEC extend. If I want windows or doors, watch. I click a door. Now I have a sliding door. There's my doors. See it? All done quickly in 3ds Max. If I go back here and I switch to Windows, I click a fixed window, click, up. Again, I'm just using random numbers. If you had actual numbers, it would make more sense. There's my window. If I click modify, and this window is humongously huge, let's go put 5 feet by 4 feet by 4 inches. Let's go get rid of everything else, and let's zoom in that one piece. There's my window. It's a little bit too thin, I think. Oh, because there's no units. That's why. We're just using, it's unitless. If we would have used actual units, it would have been more clear. So we saw that we have a lot of architectural objects placed in here. Again, if I go to the create button, and I just go to, for example, AEC extend. I have a wall. I have a railing. I have foliage. I go back again, and I go to windows. I have different types of windows. If I go to doors, I have different types of doors. If I go to stairs, I have different types of stairs. Watch, U-shape. Click. There's my U-shaped stairs. See it? Fast stairs. Again, if I go back here, there's a lot of different objects you have in here. Compound objects. You could have, no, not these ones. Let's go back to doors. You have those ones. You have, again, like I said before, you could use the stairs option. We see all these little things I'm trying to tell you. If I go AEC objects, again, you have foliage, railing, and walls. Look, if I do foliage, it's trees, stuff like that. Foliage, if I want to add trees, click a tree. There's my tree. It's upside down because my cube is upside down. There's my trees. We see all this. There's a lot of architectural things in this file in 3ds Max as well. The doors, the pivots, and so forth. If I go back to another one, the railing. I just click railing. It's going to draw a railing. Again, I'm not really giving any actual numbers here, but you can add the numbers if you please. Go back over here again. Let's go to doors. Let's just do a pivot door. See, I could do the width, the height, the depth, double door, the swing option I want to do, what frames I want to add into it. So again, click, click, click. It's really a weird door because we're not using the right units. Add the units and it should be fine. Good. We're going to be playing with all these different objects we have. All right? When you go to the bottom later on, you're going to be, when we're dealing with the doors, it's going to give you about components for the materials. That's when we see that, that's a multi-object piece. So for example, if the piece says material ID, you could have one ID for material for the front of the door, one for the back of the door, one for the side frames, one for the panels, one for the inner door. That's what it means by material ID. We're going to see all those when we're working on the actual piece.